You may have heard about a group you never knew existed before, and for all the wrong reasons, but you know what? It's important to be aware of what is out there, and that's why we're going to do this next piece. It concerns a group that identifies himself as 764, the number 764. And they have now been declared, by the way, and I did not know this until reading the story, they have been declared in Canada a terrorist entity. Now, when you see that, immediately you might think, well, this is something involved in terrorism or what's going on here exactly. Or are they trying to, basically deal with the government? No, they're trying to get your kids. And when I say get your kids, it's pretty frightening to read some of what they have done and some of the results, sadly, tragically, that have come as a result of what they do. Darren Laur is a founder of the White Hatter, which is a digital literacy education company, and is on the line. Darren, thank you for your time this afternoon. Can you tell our listeners who may have heard this in the news the past couple of days or week or so, what 764 is and what they do that should concern you as a parent?
Yeah, first, thank you very much for the invite, Aaron. This group, they are truly monsters and evil. Like I say, there is evil and monsters in this world, and 764 and groups associated with them, commonly known as the COM, is that evil and monster. And their goal here is to emotionally, psychologically, and physically dominate their target, primarily teens, where those teens will now begin to self-harm, usually via cutting, or the group will have them engrave the names of the groups into their body, or move to harming family pets, and even to committing other types of crime.
Okay, I mean, that's graphic and awful as you describe it. Mm-hmm. My first question was, typically when you hear of these things, there's money involved, or they're trying to get money or extort people. That's not the case here, is that right?
That's correct. It's all about emotional, psychological, and physical control and dominance. That's what it's about. It's extremely Machiavellian in nature.
So they're trying to target any specific kind of people. Just if you're isolated, if you're looking for a friend, what's the come on here?
Yeah, what these guys are good at is understanding needs, meeting needs, right? So they'll target emotional and psychological needs of a teen. Good example, a teen who's looking for friendship because maybe that teen is isolated in a community where there's not a lot of friends around, or some form of an acceptance. And once they identify that vulnerability, they now move in to make contact with them in a very friendly way. So they don't come in as monsters or evil right away, right? It's a part of that grooming process to the point where they groom them to usually where there's some kind of compromise that is provided. In a lot of cases for teens, it could be a nude, like a sex is a good example, that once they will use that as the leverage now to get the teen to do what it is that they want them to do.
Again, for no monetary gain, just because, I can't even ask you, just because what? What's the ultimate objective here?
It's the thrills that they get out of it. It's that emotional, psychological, and physical dominance and the enjoyment that they get out of it.
Well, that's pretty sick. Okay,
it is.
We know that. First of all, we're finding out about this now. How long has this been around? How long have you been seeing this?
Yeah, this has been around for a while. 764 is actually a postal code of where this first started in the United States in Texas by a teen. So it's been around for a couple of years. We've been writing articles on it for at least 2 years now, and just recently we're now working with a family whose 15-year-old child was targeted by 764 as well.
Okay, and what happens when kids are targeted? And as you said, this starts with a friendly conversation. The kids might think this guy wants to be, or this person wants to be my friend. How does it progress?
It slowly progresses to the point where once contact is made, so they're looking for the vulnerable target. Once the target is identified, they engage them in communication to meet their need, whatever that need is, whatever it is they're looking for. Okay. And then slowly, as they're filling that need and giving the teen what it is that they want, they now move, and it usually starts within an open platform, say someplace on, say, Snapchat or on Instagram. And then what they'll do is they'll off-platform them to a more private communication platform, with ultimately moving them to, say, a platform like Telegram where it's totally encrypted, it can't be intercepted, and makes it very hard for police now to find evidence to track these individuals.
Okay, and how do parents recognize what's going on? How can they get involved?
Yeah, a couple things here. Number one, parents need to know that this group exists, right? Because knowledge and the understanding and application of that knowledge is power. So once they know it, they can start talking to their kids about it. But number two, understand that even the most educated youth or teen can still fall victim because these guys are good at what it is they do. But most importantly, as a parent, trust your instincts because it's a million years of evolution that the Creator's given us to stay safe. Trust that instinct. So when something's telling you something's wrong with your child, dig deeper. Far too often, we as humans, we kind of blow off that sixth sense saying it's nothing, we're overreacting. Well, what if you're not? And remember, as parents, engage with your kids in communication and participation in what it is that they're doing in today's online world, and where appropriate, apply that overwatch. And if the child has been targeted, notify the police. Because as was mentioned, 764, we're one of the few countries in the world, I think we're the only country right now, where 764 is being identified as a terrorist group in our country, which now allows law enforcement to amp up their response to it.
Yeah, I wonder, how would a parent even know? I mean, do they post a 764? Is that something you would see right away?
No. So in the case that I'm working with, the parent said, my child was usually happy, outgoing, just a really good kid. And then just all of a sudden there was this huge change in their behavior.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden they went down to see what was going on with her. And that's where they found her in the bathroom where they had started cutting themselves.
There have been a couple of stories. I mean, I don't want to make this worse than it is, where I think, mentioned off the top, there have been some children who have basically taken their own lives.
Yes, that has happened, unfortunately, around the world. Like, I know of 5 cases now here in Canada, one of those cases where a young person did take their life, but I know of at least 5 cases where other youth did not take their lives, but they seriously injured or self-harmed themselves because of this group.
Look, at the end of the day, if you're the parent, you're listening now, you're now made aware of this, and you mentioned they're now considered a terrorist entity in this country. Beyond, is the first thing contact police? Is that the first step you should be taking?
Yeah, number one, make sure your child is safe, number one. And, if they're cutting, get them the medical help that they need. But number 2, notify the police immediately. And, if the police come forward and say to a family, it's the internet, there's nothing we can do, you need to push harder. Connect with us here at the White Hatter. We will help you to engage with law enforcement. But because this group is being designated as a terrorist organization or entity in our country, it really amps up things where groups like the RCMP INSET team will now get involved.
But can I just ask you, Darren, with respect to this being, as I said, declared a terrorist group, this is the government saying, you know what, we're taking this seriously. So if that's the case, why would police sort of back off and say, we're not aware of this? Or why would that happen?
Sometimes it's the lack of understanding and even education with law enforcement. It really depends upon the law enforcement of jurisdiction, where you're located, what kind of professional development training. Like, my background is I got 30 years in law enforcement. I'm a retired staff sergeant, right? So just because somebody wears a uniform doesn't necessarily mean they're all up on what goes on online and the internet and, say, groups like this. But that's why sometimes it's not uncommon, where I'm working with families across Canada now, where they go to report to police something has happened to their child online, whatever that something is. And as a result of that, it's not uncommon for police to say, well, it's the internet, that we can't identify who these people are. Well, if that was in fact true, then how about the person that, in your province was identified and arrested because of this?
So I guess my last question would be, where can parents find out more? They're listening to this, and obviously if a lot of parents sort of get together and, and I think that's starting to happen in some places, that's obviously an advantage if an entire community knows.
Yeah. Reach out online or reach out to your local law enforcement agency, see if they have anything. Check out our website, which is www.thewhitehatter.ca.
Okay.
Go down into the search block, type in 764, and you'll have the newest article that I wrote based upon the family that we're working with right now. It really drills down deeply on the who, what, where, when, why, and how of 764 and the CALM that every parent should be reading.
Thewhitehatter.com.
.ca, sorry.
Oh, sorry, .ca, thewhitehatter.ca. Just as a last question, is there an actual figurehead in this organization, like a person?
No,
okay.
It's a collective. That's why they also call it the CALM, right?
Okay. If you want more information as a parent, you're listening to this and concerned, again, thewhitehatter.ca is a good resource for you. Darren, thank you so much for the time.
You're very welcome. Have a great rest of the day.
Take care. You too.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.